Good evening, Mr. Real, I presume.
How are you? It is the one and only, other than my dad and my son, who are also share those same names. How was your week?
Fantastic. So much going on.
There
So
is.
much to be talked about tonight.
There
I
is a
love having
ton
a
of-
Friday night when we can get together, we can share a drink, we can meet with some friends, and we can sit and talk about the news of the week. And I think the biggest news of the week, as far as I'm concerned, is Cultch,
Colch. Yeah.
aka Cultural Hall.
Yeah, we've got a few things here tonight. By the way, I'll just note the phone lines. I'm going to put the banner up 662-667-6667. You can also come into the studio. If you look in the live chat, there is a pinned message there. We'd love for you to come in, share your thoughts on what's going on with Cultch. We'll talk about that tonight. We've got some other things for you as well, folks. So there's that. There's been quite a few little interesting stories, but yes, RFM, Cultch is the big one.
I think so. And, not everybody out there knows who Cultch is, though I'm sure the majority do. He is an individual who has been on the podcast scene for, I think, at least a year and maybe more. And I think he put his toe into the pool by making music videos that were kind of Weird Al-esque, sort of like music videos, and putting funny lyrics, sometimes to like church hymns, as well as other songs. And he would make videos and they were very funny. Then he started doing his own podcast a few months ago. And as recently as last Tuesday night, he was doing a podcast, his regularly scheduled podcast. It was a hate watch. They were hate watching on Ward Radio, where they put up the psycho women instead of the guys, the usual guys. They let their wives take over for the night while they went bowling. And they trashed, or I think as the thumbnail said, dragged this other post-Mormon podcaster. Help me. Life Take Two. Is that her name?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, unfortunately.
Okay. Well, anyway, they were just doing their usual stuff on this other woman post-Mormon podcaster. And somebody's going to be able to say it over here, right?
Somebody's saying covenant women. Is that what it is?
No, that's them, I'm sure. That's the Mormons. Yeah, they're very proud of that covenant.
Another one's saying Life Take Two.
Yeah, and I said that much. I
Yep.
just can't remember her actual name, and I apologize. I'm having a mind blank. But so is Bill, so it's not so bad. It's not.
Jenny Gage. I know her. Yep.
Oh, okay. Now you know her. As soon as Tessa says it, yeah.
No, I know her. I don't know her podcast Life Take Two, but I know her by name. Her and I have had several conversations over the years.
You have? Well, I've never talked to her, so
she's been a listener of our stuff from early on.
I feel like you should feel bad about this, not me.
No, if you would have said Jenny Gage, I would know who we're talking about.
I would have if I'd remembered her name.
Yeah, well, you knew the podcast, I knew the name, and here we are.
Okay. So anyway, thank you, Tessa, for settling that bet, which we can settle after the show's over, Bill. Yeah. So what were we talking about? We're talking about the hate watch that Cultural Hall was doing, along with help me out. We were just talking about this.
Jenny Gage.
No, Jenny Gage was not on the show. It was about the psych ward women dragging Jenny Gage.
Gotcha. Yeah, they were. I knew that happened too. That they were bad.
McKinsey, right? Mackenzie Vance.
That in the
Mackenzie Vance, right? And El Diablo Corey Hoare was there.
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about? Church of Corey Hoare guy.
I don't watch any of these. Any of this post-Mormon stuff. Let's just say post-Mormon stuff. The Mormon stuff, like Ward Radio. I don't watch them.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm referring to what we were just watching. The clip that we're going to play here in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, Mackenzie Vance and then
yeah. Colch and then Exmo Joe. Yep, and the video we've got ready to go.
That's what I was talking about.
Sorry,
I confused you. I'm sorry.
Confused at who's talking. Again, I understand the situation. Colch is having his conversation. They're talking about Ward Radio, and Ward Radio is having the women have their own episode, and they are bad-mouthing Jenny Gage.
Yes. And so Colch last Tuesday is having this thing go on. And what ends up happening is that by yesterday morning, which is Thursday morning, okay, so today is May 23rd, 2025. It's a Friday. And by yesterday morning, Colch had taken down all of his podcasts and put up a notice saying that he was leaving podcasting.
Yes. And I can show that. Let me put that up on the screen.
Because what we want to do is we want to pick out something that had happened during that show. His last show, as it turned out to be last Tuesday, when they were doing this thing, this hate watch, right? And somebody apparently in the live chat had got an earlier photo of Colch from somewhere, I don't know where, but had said something using that photo and his name as a live chat avatar.
And I've got that video ready if we want to play that.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Let me got to switch screens, so give me just a second.
Oh, did you want to read the goodbye that he posted?
Let me do this. Let me take this down. Okay. Yeah, I mean, let's do that. We can read that, and that'll give me a second to find that video. So
yeah. So this is what he posted yesterday on Thursday.
Yeah, this is a crazy thing. For this to happen, it doesn't exactly make sense to me, and I'm hoping to sort of talk that out with you tonight. So
and with everybody, because we'd like to hear your thoughts about it too.
I hope people will jump in. I was just trying to grab it off of the slideshow in Google Slides, so it's going to take just another second here.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually the video kind of comes first.
Yes, chronologically. And I don't know about anything else really going on. I understand that he is married. His wife has never been a member of the LDS Church. And they have a business that they run together.
Yeah. I don't know why. I know you're trying to buy me time, and I'm trying to
tell you what, Bill.
Yeah.
You know what? On the off chance that Cultch doesn't want his real name up on any screen, and we might be doing him a disservice by doing that. At the time, which was just last Tuesday, right? Just 3 days ago. Just last Tuesday, Cultch took it out of the live chat, put it up on the screen, and played it off because it was obviously somebody who was trolling him and trying to get his goat. And he says, I don't care, I'll put it up. I don't know if that's the same lay of the land 3 days later. So maybe if we just describe it and don't show it, it's probably the best.
Yeah. So Colch is having, and I do have it, but Colch is having a conversation with Exmo Joe and Mackenzie Vance. And he makes a remark about one of the comments that shows up on the screen during Ward Radio. And I'll let you take it from there.
Right. Now, that's the clip that we're not going to play, right?
Correct.
Even though you just went through all that effort to process it. Yeah. So that happens, right? And, you know, I thought he did a great job of playing it off and not allowing this person to rattle him. And in fact, leaning into it and putting it up on the screen. Although from talking with him, which I did since then, although briefly, I think he had mentioned that this wasn't the first comment this person had made, and it was starting to look like it might be trending toward more controversial stuff. So he thought he ignored the first one, brought the second one up and said, this isn't going to go any further. And he was just going to say, this is what this person was doing. Okay. So that happens, right?
Yeah.
As far as I know, everything's fine, but you know, I don't live in his house, and he had a lot of things going on. And one of them wasn't calling his old buddy Radio Free Mormon and telling him about it. What I know is what you know, is that Thursday morning. So that's 1 day and a night later. 36 hours later, he's taken down all of his podcasts and put this up. And I found out about that. How did I find out about it? I found out about it because Thursday morning I was looking for his podcast. And I remember I was trying to find it so I could, you know, listen to, it might have been that podcast while I was shaving. So I put in Cultch because he's changed the name from Cultural Hall to Cultch recently. And I couldn't find it. I find all these other things that I used to find when I was looking for his podcast. And I looked at Cultch. I looked at Cultural Hall. I looked at Cultural. Of course, that brings up all the other Cultural Hall podcasts. So then I put Cultch, Mormon. Nothing came up. And I finally text him and I'm going, what's going on? I can't find your podcast. And that's when I believe he let me and Colby know. Colby's part of the text group. And Colby can confirm that if that's how it happened. That's how I found out.
Yeah, it's crazy. And so you see the message here. You reposted this so that folks could, in every corner, be able to see that this happened. But
Yes.
do you mind if I read it?
No, I didn't say anything about it, and I know you didn't either until he posted this. And then I put it up on my Facebook wall, and I released a TikTok about it this morning. But yeah, this is from yesterday, May 22nd, Thursday, 2025.
And I do have the TikTok as well, so we can play that after this. But he says, I do. And of course, every time I see that word, we all know it has a Mormon connection to it. It is
Jacob 7.
It is argued by generally evangelical Christians that it's a evidence that the Book of Mormon isn't true. It's an anachronism. And I just always thought it was the weakest thing in the world. If there's an English word in the Book of Mormon, then a French word can be in there just as easily without any problem.
It's the Greek. It's when the Greek names start showing up that I'm scratching my head. Thanks, Colby. Love you too.
I found out earlier because he likes me better, RFM.
Yes.
So he says, I do. This was May 22nd, 2025. I made the difficult decision to stop making content. I have taken down my YouTube and my social media accounts. This space has been incredibly helpful and healing. It's an incredible community that I am grateful for. Thank you all for supporting me. It's been great meeting and interacting with you here on Patreon. I appreciate you all. I wish you all the best. Culch. And that's it.
So I learned a little bit more. I had heard a few things behind the scenes. Now, the things that I had heard were not detailed, okay? So it's not like I'm sitting here with the full blueprint to the Titanic and I'm keeping it from you. I know very little more than what I expressed in a YouTube this morning. And anything else that there is may be speculation at this point. I'm not exactly sure. Actually, I know there's facts I don't know, but that's okay. I'm just letting you know I don't know. But what I did know and what I cleared with Cultch directly, because I wanted to make sure, is it okay if I say this, this, and this? And he said yes, yes, and yes. And so I did. And the three things are that it's Mormons on the internet Mormons who are behind this. Number two. As many of you may have heard. Oh, that's me.
Yeah, it is.
What a great voice.
I'm getting ready to play it.
It's like a voice for radio, a face for radio. And this is the thing I made with the three things in it.
All right, let me put that up on the screen. And here we go.
As many of you may have heard, Cultural Hall, also known as Culch, the post-Mormon podcaster of immense talent, has just taken down all of his podcasts and announced his departure from the podcasting scene. I know a little bit about what's been going on behind the scenes, and I have been authorized by Culch to share the following. First off, this is caused by online Mormons. Yes, Mormons. Mormons don't like it when you tell the truth about their religion. These are the kind of things that they will do to stop you from telling the truth about their religion. Online Mormons have threatened and harassed not only Cultural Hall himself, but also his family and his family business. And this is why he has taken down his podcast. This is what Mormons do when you tell the truth about their religion. Son of a bitch must pay. So there that is. And other than that, all is darkness.
I'll say that that's strange.
What do you mean?
I'll note that somebody who has taken this much initiative to get involved with the post-Mormon community in the way that Culch has, and then to take it all down and disappear like that, my brain goes to there's some sort of blackmail happening. Because, again, it could be lots of things. It could be, and again, blackmail can work lots of different ways. Intimidating people and making people not feel safe.
Right.
Isn't the traditional way we think of things, but what you just described in your little TikTok there, what you were authorized by them to share, is that something really unhealthy is happening, that someone doesn't feel safe continuing as is. And I think that we all need to just take a look at what Mormonism aspects of it have turned into in the last few years. That kind of thing going on. We'll talk about something else here in a moment. That's an issue, and DesNat is something recently where the church hasn't exactly pointed it out directly and asked that whole movement to disband. It does so from the distance.
No, I don't think they've said jack shit about it. In fact, they've given tacit support to it by the musket speech from Elder Holland, which no matter what he meant, and I don't think he meant it the way it was taken, we had proof and we played it on this program that DesNat members took it as a call to arms. Remember that show? That was something. Yeah.
When I think of folks like Robert Boylan or Mike Parker, or the kinds of conversations that John Lynch or Dan Peterson or Lou Midgley, Bill Hamlin, there's a segment of Mormons out there who defend the faith, and their ethics, they see their ethics as compromisable so long as they are doing what they think is right by the church at all cost.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I joke, we make a comment, we play around with the guy with the big philtrum, and we make a joke here or there.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never threatened anybody. I've never tried to intimidate somebody in their personal life. I've had that happen half dozen times at this point with somebody trying to come at me for something. The general authorities kid, Mike Parker coming into Family Pawn and telling us a false story. Anyway,
Richard Nygren came in.
Yeah. Richard Nygren came in to meet me. I met the real Richard Nygren.
You're not the only person to ever meet Richard Nygren.
Yeah. These guys are dirty, and whatever is going on with Culch, that ado was not normal. That wasn't the expected thing somebody does when they just decide they're going to step back unless there's extenuating circumstances.
Mm-hmm. And
you shared them. I mean, obviously not specifically, but enough to go on.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think about Mormons when they do this kind of thing?
I think that it shows simply what I've observed for too long now, which is they're scared of having a conversation on the issues because they lose. On the facts, they lose. And the only way they can win is to lie and to hide other people and keep other people silent. Okay. They lie and they silence other people. That's the only way that they can win.
Yeah. I already know, you and I know that side of people, they will go way further than you and I would go.
Yes. That war in heaven thing? Cray says the war in heaven never ended, guys. I know because I was a veteran up there. In fact, I am the major who gave Cardin Ellis his Section 8.
There you go.
True story.
There you go. All happened in the premortal life.
It did.
Yeah. So folks, please call in 662-667-6667. And then in the live chat there, if you go to the pinned comment, you can visit the link there to come straight into the studio. And we really do want to hear your thoughts on Cultch tonight. Primarily, I want to show one more thing just because it connects to that.
People think Jacob is behind this, at least some people like Stephen Nelson, Jacob Hansen.
Yeah.
But of course, he was on a cruise. I think he was on a boat, right? He was on the boat doing the cruise and doing whatever he was doing on the cruise. All I know is if I was having shit like this go down in the city, I'd be on a cruise too with a lot of witnesses.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Corleone was at the baptism of his child, I think, or was he the godfather? Anyway, he's right there in church. He's getting baptized, surrounded by witnesses. So he had nothing to do with all the murder and mayhem that was going on like clockwork around the city. Maybe that was his kid. I was thinking grandkid, but maybe that was his kid. And everybody gets killed within like an hour. A bunch of mobsters go down, and everybody all for going after dad. I think must have been the second one. Yeah, but it was an incredible scene. Cool as a cucumber he was at that baptism. Yeah, it was an amazing acting job.
the apologists have that kind of morality, by the way, right? They can put out the faith defending thing and stand behind the church's goodness and proclaim it. Meanwhile, they are putting hits out on all the folks that are on the other side out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just because he was on a cruise, I mean, come on, give me a break. I think that makes him look more suspicious. Show me a guy with a good alibi, and I'll show you a guy who probably did it.
Jacob is a little, yeah, I know. Jacob is a little creepy this way, right? Like, again, we're not saying he did anything with this. I don't know the story. I don't know any more details beyond RFM's TikTok there. But I'll say that Jacob will organize writing campaigns, right?
Yes, we know that much, don't we?
And when I got separated from my ex, he asked people to be good to me and to be compassionate in that moment. And I've seen him do that in other instances. For instance, with Julie Hanks, I think he did that when she got divorced.
I'm sorry,
And
what
so
did he do? Oh, he went out there and said how
nice.
sad he was that she was reaping the fruits of what she'd sown.
Just no, he put out like a compassionate, seriously, he put out like a compassionate, kind comment, but he also has the capacity to do the thing that I would never do. It just seems so wrong, but he does it.
Do you understand how difficult it is to be a sociopath in this kind of society? The main thing is that you don't have any feelings, okay? So you really don't respond the way other people's do. And believe me, it's a blessing. Can you imagine not being burdened with feelings? Wow. It's a great feeling. And so you're here. So what you do as a sociopath is you learn to mimic other people. And if something is horrible, you go, oh, that's so sad. But sometimes you can mimic things better than others. I think Jacob Hansen has the nice little comment being made in his blog. I think he has that part mimicked to a T. It's the bigger stuff he's still having trouble with.
Science says that between 4 to 5% of people have that sociopath, psychopath, narcissistic. You know, they're the worst among us. They don't feel things, and no amount of unethical behavior comes across as unethical behavior. It's just the world it is, and this is what you do to get ahead.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that there's only 4% of people, but out of that 4%, it's like 78% of them are named Jacob. It's a crazy statistic. It was in a footnote. Maybe you didn't see it.
Yeah. So there's some strange behavior on that side. And it's almost, do you notice, by the way, it's a higher percentage than you meet in other parts of your life? That sort of deep unhealthiness that's willing to do really shitty things to people simply on the disagreement of some ideology.
You mean in this space or just show business generally?
What I mean is that in the post-Mormon apologist space, in the Mormon apologist space, that apologists have a high number of really unhealthy people among them. The loudest voices, the 20 loudest voices, are half of them are pretty good people. Neo-apologists, Terrell Givens, Patrick May, and the other half are the unhealthiest of human beings who they won't stop at any step to defend the church. And man, yeah, there's a different level of ethics among that group. And in the general population, it's just not 50%. It's much higher among that group of people.
Well, I don't know what it is, but I used to be one of them, but now you got me.
I got you. Well, I like having you. So,
oh, thank you. That's so nice. You're a nice guy, and you're looking really dapper. I like the new look.
Thank you.
Growing on you.
Thank you. This was the other thing I wanted to show. We showed this the other night on the newscast, so I won't spend a ton of time on it. You put something here on Radio Free Mormon, I believe. Maybe I did through Hootsuite, but it appears some good Mormon going by the name of Jaden. Oh, this is you, Jaden Schaefer.
Yeah, and it's actually Jaeden and then one F.
By the way, Jaden Schaefer doesn't exist any more than Richard Nygren exists.
Really? Because I wanted to pound the shit out of him really
Yeah,
bad.
this is all AI. They're 5 or 6 minutes long. They have no substance to them. It appears some good Mormon going by the name of Jaden Schaefer has commenced posting faith-promoting material under Bill in my nom de guerre. Is that how guerre?
Nom de guerre.
Nom de guerre. I don't think this will end well. So there's Mormon discussions. That's not our podcast. Radio Free Mormon. That's not our podcast. We noticed it with Mormonish. Whoever this is doing it with them too. They're doing it with
Mormon Stories.
Mormon Stories podcast. Yep.
It made me sad because I thought if we're getting attention that Mormon Stories isn't, then maybe we've arrived in some way. But no. Mormon Stories too.
No. And then there's one other one, Mormon History podcast. And we used to, under the Mormon Discussion umbrella, we used to have a Mormon History podcast.
I remember that.
But it was so many years ago, it surprises me that they sought to do this one too. Although I guess people would look for Mormon history. So be it. And I don't know what else I want to say about this other than this is unethical. When you copy other people with any degree of design to manipulate them, and the fact that these all came on board at almost the same time, and they're all of the more popular post-Mormon podcast. It is obviously an intentional, independent effort. Now, it could be 3 people, but they're all in cahoots with each other. And it's designed to draw away as somebody goes on to Spotify or onto Apple and they go to search for Mormon Stories or Mormon Discussion or Radio Free Mormon. They're going to find ours, but they're also going to see that these other things are out there. And if they don't know any better, they might, if they got pointed to this by a friend, they might click this. And it is done with the intent to deceive.
Ooh.
It's meant to deceive, and that's unethical. So anyway,
when your ethics are judged by what benefits the church, it is the most ethical thing one could do.
Yeah.
Should we bring on Colby?
Yeah.
Maybe he has an update for us. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Hey guys, how are you?
Tell us about Culch. Sorry.
I really don't have anything to add. I really don't have anything to add from what you guys have said. I actually just kind of wanted to share maybe a comment about how I hope people think about the fact that there are real people behind these channels with real lives that are affected. Cultch isn't going to give any more details than he's authorized people to share publicly. But just even being a rando that doesn't have a podcast, I just wanted to kind of speak to the fact that, when Jacob Hansen released that video, and I told Jacob this today, when Jacob Hansen released that video calling RFM and I unhinged, psychotic lunatics, it just so happened that my mailbox was smashed up that day with a bat in the house I've lived in for 12 years before that. Nothing had ever happened before. Now, I'm not blaming Jacob for that. I don't think he would authorize that. I'm just saying these people are like speaking to a movement, this DesNat movement, that's out of control, that they can't control. So it's not like I'm blaming any particular podcaster for what's happened to Colch and his family. But I guess I'm just hoping that people can think about the fact that these are real people with real lives and real families behind this stuff. And it's really not cool to try and affect someone's livelihood. I had the same thing happen after I did a podcast with John DeLynn about the Huntsman tithing lawsuit. RFM's heard this story before, but I got a 17-page letter at the place where I work. And again, I've never talked publicly about where I worked at the time. It's not like I'm advertising where I work as part of anything I do with podcasting. So that felt like such an intrusive thing to receive, like a 17-page letter that you've kind of got to explain to your employer, like, well, here's what happened, basically. And for what it's worth, that person spent 17 pages telling me that I didn't understand the Second Amendment's religious freedom protections.
A lot of people miss that in the Second Amendment.
And I was going to say,
too focused on the First Amendment. That's
right. I was going to say, if you're in the audience thinking, wait, I thought that's the First Amendment, you gave this more thought than the person who wrote a 17-page letter to me did. I've also gotten phone calls basically demand for that same podcast I did with John, literally just watching the oral argument of the Huntsman lawsuit, talking about the arguments the church made, the arguments that Huntsman made. And I had, I think, 5 phone calls that came in, people demanding that I be fired for being a religious bigot. My point is just, like, people shouldn't have to deal with that type of behavior. Like, by sharing your opinion about this organization and what it does, I think about as objectively as we can. That's how I try and approach this. And having that response, it just speaks so much to the fact that they have to engage in this behavior to defend this church. Like, to lie, to obfuscate, to play these games in defense of the truth is its own ginormous red flag. And so I really just wanted to share that kind of my personal perspective on it, echo everything you guys have said about Culch. I'm going to really miss him in this space. He was a friend of mine, and I really loved his satire and the way he approached these things. So I think it's a huge loss to this community, frankly, to not have that blend of humor and irreverence, and also really sharp commentary and insight. I think it's a real loss, and it's a real shame that people behave this way. And so knock it off. Like, if people on our side of things would act this way, we would call it out, as we have when people have acted unhealthily. And so that would just be my plea, is like, think about the fact that there are people behind this, people who are trying to do their best. They're not, not trying to take away your special toy. They're just sharing their experience. And if you can't deal with that, then maybe just don't say anything at all.
I think you made a great analogy, by the way, Kobe. It's like they're trying to do something with your favorite toy. They're trying to diminish it. And in reality, all they're saying is, that toy made me sick. That toy had paint on it that got me ill. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't play with that toy anymore. And here's the reasons why.
Yeah. I've used this analogy before, not the toy analogy, but I've used this analogy of a cheeseburger. Like, say the 3 of us went out to a restaurant to eat, and we all 3 of us order cheeseburgers, and my cheeseburger never comes. And so often when you're engaging with believing Mormons, all you're saying is the equivalent of, hey, my cheeseburger hasn't arrived yet. And so many Mormons just parrot back to you, but my cheeseburger's right here, and it's delicious, and I've had a great experience with this cheeseburger. Both things can be true at the same time.
That happens every general conference.
What's that?
That happens every general conference.
No cheeseburger shows up.
I'm the one waiting for my burger. Everybody's saying, oh, it tastes so good. I'm going, the burger never got here.
Yeah. I can only suffer through one session every conference, RFM. You're a hero. Anyways, we miss you, Culch. Seriously. I think this is really gross, the way this has all happened. And I think the people responsible should be ashamed of themselves. And if that's what you have to do to defend the guy who you think is the Prince of Peace, like, you need to wake the fuck up, because you have lost the plot seriously to engage in this type of behavior.
Yeah. And Mormon leadership, because it has lied itself, because it has gone after people in unethical ways, it has demonstrated an example that, again, for every believer who does these kind of things, they can easily say, I just do what my leaders do, and I know my leaders are good. And if Mormonism wants to really be a good faith, it's got to change from the top down.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, thanks for covering this, guys. Have a good night.
Make it easy.
You bet. Bye, Colby. See you tomorrow morning. Me and Colby, we're going to watch the sun come up.
Yeah. We've got several calls. Before we go to those, I just want to say one more thing about that last set of things that we showed on the screen. I'll just say that we're working on getting this taken care of and getting these removed. John DeLynne's aware of the Mormon Stories one. Rebecca's aware of Mormonish. But I'm not, it doesn't really bother me a whole ton, RFM, because you can probably imagine why.
Well, I think there's 2 things really that could happen. One of which is, and I'm dividing this into people who already know about me. I'll just talk about me.
Yeah.
Radio Free Mormon. You can talk about yourself, but I think it applies to both of us.
Yeah.
There's only either you know about me or you don't know about me. So either you're tuning into this because you think it's more of me, at which point you're going to realize it's not, and then go back to the Fountain of Living Water on the Real podcast. Or you're not going to know it's me, And then you can say Radio Free Mormon, and maybe you're going to like this crap. And then you're going to find the real Radio Free Mormon, and then you're going to leave the freaking church. So I'm not sure exactly what the long game is on this con, but I don't think it works in favor of the person who created it.
Can you imagine how entertained the listener would be listening to the real Radio Free Mormon after enjoying this shitty podcast over here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is low-grade marijuana. I got the fine cocaine over at Radio Free Mormon.
You have primo, my friend, top shelf.
Thank you very much.
And I think there's much more risk for this. These people don't think this kind of thing through. It's like having Fair Mormon, the website, right? Like you just said. They're going to go on and look for Fair Mormon. They're going to know about the problems. Fair Mormon says, not only is there a problem, here's 100 others. And next thing you know, you've gone down the rabbit hole. Listening to one episode of this shitty podcast right here on the screen, and then going and finding the real thing. And you're like, oh my gosh, this one's 7 minutes and it sounds like AI. And the other one's 2 hours long and they delve into the depths of history, make me chuckle. And I learned the things the church never told me.
It's really exciting when you find out, it's depressing. It's disappointing. Usually that's too small a word, disappointing. When you've been a lifelong member of the church or however long, and you've been, you sacrifice all the things you got to sacrifice to be a good member of the church. And then you find out they've been lying their ass off to you. It is disappointing. They've been hiding shit from you, and the good shit too. That's disappointing. But once you're getting over the disappointment and you start finding out, oh my gosh, there's all this crap here that I never knew about. And suddenly this entire story is like 10 times more interesting than it ever was in Sunday school.
Yeah. These are the things that they never wanted to tell you. And there's somebody else off on the side going, well, look, they're not going to tell you, but we love those guys. So we're going to tell you. And it does the same damn thing. It's as if you found it in Sunday school, because you learn that Fair Mormon works closely with the church. They have members of church leadership at every annual conference as the main speaker. 70s, and once in a while an apostle. You can see that they get their funding indirectly from the church. Yeah. You realize it's just the church telling you what it was supposed to tell you, but often some subsidiary.
You're right. Josh Kim says RFM was on the grassy knoll, and then he feels compelled to add the comment, he was the second shooter. Why don't you say in Dallas? Why don't you say on November 22nd, 1963? Why don't you say it involved John F. Kennedy and a book depository? Yes, Josh Kim, we have a very intelligent audience here. We all got it from the very first comment, and it was very, very funny.
20 minutes earlier, Oswald is in the cafeteria eating like a sandwich. And the lady goes, no, it couldn't have been him. I passed by him. He was just sitting there. He wasn't doing anything. Wasn't out of breath. He didn't seem like he was on his way to something, or,
Well, where's he going? I don't know. The chair?
Yeah.
No, and by the way, I only make fun of you, Josh, only in love, because there is always this thing, right, where frequently I'll make a comment, and a lot of times the humor in a comment lies in its inaccessibility to the average person. You put it in such a way that you sort of, you got to be smarter than your average bear to get the reference, right? But then after you make that comment and nobody's laughing, you think, oh, maybe I made it too remote, too recondite, right? So I got to make it a little bit more explanatory. I do that. I have done that. But then when you're making it more explanatory, you're worried about the people who got it the first time. And now you're going to sound patronizing. So it's a tough deal all the way around. So I thought I'd bring it up. There you go.
There it is. We do have some calls. So I'm going to go to the first one.
You see,
Caller,
go ahead. He does it again. RFM is the Highlander, which should be enough, but no, he follows it up with he's really ancient. Thank you so much.
Caller, what's the name?
Teresa.
Teresa, how are you?
And I'm good. Thank you for taking my call. You guys are great, and I'm really disappointed to hear about the Cultch. Although I can understand why I would make the same choice. I just had, it's not my personal experience, but my grandfather, my family history on my mom's side goes back to grandparents being born in Nauvoo, and it's some things that the church do with the minds and the psyche of people, men and women, especially men, is just they just create narcissist people just based on the fact that I have the priesthood power, I have direct contact with God, and I can, it's just that anyway. So to get back to my point, my grandfather was really abusive to his children and his wife. But in his patriarchal blessing, it states that he was one of the people that actually escorted Satan out of heaven after the war. And I just can't imagine, after realizing all the abuse that he put my aunts and uncles and my grandma and my mom through, I just can't help but wonder how much of that message that he received in his patriarchal blessing had to do with the treatment he had for other people. And it's kind of scary what they think they can do to other people, and the fact that the church will not hold these people accountable for the things that they say, like in the Chad Daybell and the other headlines that are in the news.
Yeah,
Anyway.
the really horrific examples.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
And I've called out the church and decried this before, Teresa. They will not say anything in opposition to the people who are using their religion, the apostles' own religion, as a justification for torturing and killing children.
Yes, yeah, and it's scary. And as long as they don't say anything, they're complicit in my mind. They're complicit in not.
Yes, well, they are. Absolutely, they are.
Yeah, they're not correcting these people's beliefs that they have founded in this religion.
I mean, this is one of the things that they actually say is their job. They may not see Jesus depending upon what day of the week it is and whether it ends with a Y, but they are definitely there to keep the doctrine pure, and they're failing abysmally at that in this regard.
Mm-hmm. And my question is, where did it start with these people? Did it start in a patriarchal blessing like it did with my grandfather? I mean, you've just got people out there saying willy-nilly to, and you have several blessings throughout your life. You have your patriarchal blessing. You have women in the congregation taking notes when babies are blessed, or when your 8-year-old is being confirmed a member of the church. I mean, I would hear it all the time. All of these, I don't know, what would you call it? Occult type revelations, given to these children or these parents of the children, or it just, I don't know. And there's no accountability. And how do you walk it back? How do you listen? How do you, as a bishop or a stake president or somebody who's listening to somebody give this child their confirmation blessing, or even their priesthood blessing when they get the priesthood? How do you then walk it back what this person has said to this child, or this little, like they call it the mustard seed, that will grow their whole life? Anyway.
Teresa, when I think of Mormonism's history, again, anybody who is in the circles where they are even hearing Cultch speak as a believer, they're already swimming in the messy issues on some level. They're paying attention to these conversations. So they're aware of things like the Danites, the Whistling Whittlers. They're aware of the church condoning violence. They've come up with ways to justify that and to make it okay. So it actually doesn't surprise me at all that we have a group of people among us who know that the means justifies the ends. They are so confident that they're right about the ends. They've seen their religion set the example about justifying the means and going to, Mountain Meadows Massacre. We gloss over Mountain Meadows Massacre as Mormons and post-Mormons, by the way. Name another moment in history where a group of people that big murdered in cold blood another group of people, and every one of those incidents is horrific, with us going, how in the hell did a group of people do that? There's never a moment where you're like, oh, I can sort of understand how that happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've got, I think, to some extent, some of it going on, especially in the Middle East with Gaza and all that kind of stuff. But it just goes to show, and again, like you said, when people think that their beliefs are so correct and it's the only way to be. Anyway, I don't know.
It's gross.
Yeah, I think the way to be is not to murder other people.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, right. It's written out. I mean, it's written out. And for a church that teaches, and this is what drove me crazy, is that for a church that teaches no judgment, that, thou shalt not judge, and to be kind to your brothers.
No. They've got a footnote on that, Teresa. You know that, right? From the Book of Mormon, I think you got to judge righteous judgment. So what? You pushed out the back window, came in through the front door. And that's why Mormonism is so effing judgmentalism. You cannot have a church or a religion that is based in any way on works. And Mormonism has works up the yin yang. But I believe you cannot have a religion that is based anyway on works with rewards in the afterlife or this life without having built-in judgmentalism.
Yeah. Amen.
Very
true, Erica. Well, thank you, Teresa. Anything else?
I've been trying to call in for a couple of weeks, just a little bug in your ear. Another thing that's kind of bothered me about the church is, or not the church, but some of the systems that they have is mission type stuff. And we've had recently a child that was killed on his bicycle. Somewhere.
Missionary.
I remember growing up. Yeah. I remember growing up always being told, I don't know if it was by my mom or something, but it was always talked about as the truth about going on your mission. And if you ever do anything, bad things will happen to you if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing while you're on your mission, such as, following. Has anybody ever done a show involving the parents of those children or even the children themselves that got sick? The reason why I ask is because my sister has kidney issues, and she went on a mission and got a call from the mission president debating on whether or not to send her home because her kidneys were getting infected and bad. And I just remember my mom.
That sounds like a no-brainer to me. I've never been a mission president or anything.
Send them home.
Yeah, but I just think about the toll that it plays on the families whose children come home dead. Is it taught anymore that strictly? I mean, do we have parents out there that are just in agony because they think their kid did something they weren't supposed to do on their mission? I mean, I don't know. Just a little bug in your ear. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you, Teresa.
On that.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling. Thanks for the idea.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a good night. And thank you again, Cultch, for all you do. And thank you to both of you guys. I really
hope Colch is watching somewhere up there. I mean, we all know about missionaries and protection, right? Missionaries are imbued with a special kind of protection because God called them on a mission, and therefore they're good to go for 2 years as long as they don't screw up magnificently. In fact, if you got missionaries on your airplane, you can sit back and relax and fly the friendly skies because you know that plane's not going down because it's got missionaries in it. And God would not have all those missionaries dying together. God takes care of his missionaries. Every now and then there's one on a bike and God's looking the other way and something bad happens. But you can't blame that on God. He's a busy man.
When you again, missionaries are carrying a message. It's no different than a carrier carrying along a virus. And when you take a step back and look at things from the 20,000 foot view, the system only cares about its missionary force as carriers. In the same way that a leader of a country, again, not that they want people to die, not that they're looking for horrible things to happen, certainly want to avoid that. But when it comes to like a war and military, you're looking at the 20,000 foot view and you see all the dots on the field as soldiers, but really it's just a strategy of if these dots can overtake those dots, and you have more dots left over when those dots are gone.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at missionary work, I mean, the priority is that you serve the church, you carry the message, you convert the people and yourself. Your health is a secondary priority. It's not the most crucial thing because we take shortcuts all the time around health. We had a conversation a few months ago where somebody was saying that on their mission, there was an electrical line close to like the shower or something.
Yes.
And nobody really cares. Like, be safe, don't get hurt, but we don't really care.
No, there's a freaking, I know it's in a different country, but still, I mean, there's a freaking live wire that is in the shower. And the whole point of taking a shower is do it in such a way that you don't accidentally come in contact with a live wire, while you're shampooing with your eyes closed and all that stuff. And this is my understanding of the story. And this one guy accidentally touched it and he was gone.
Yeah. And we hear every year somebody has CO2 because it's an old apartment with an old hot water tank or furnace or whatever it is, and these things happen. And the kid on the bicycle, accidents happen. Lives are going to be lost for sure, no matter where people are at. But man, when you send your kid off because you were born into a specific religious system and then you lose that kid, and most of these parents, in regards to Teresa's call, most of these parents are loyal to the church. So they generally come out immediately afterward and say the right things that are like, glad my kid served a mission and was doing what they love to do or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
They always have these faithful remarks, but I'd love to hear years later, if any of them left, how they feel about that now. Because then I think it hits a whole different way when that's the case.
Yeah. He had the best year of his life.
Yeah. Okay. Got another phone call, or actually, we got another phone call, and then we'll take the person down below.
Patrick is below. Patrick. Hi, Patrick.
We'll be with you in just a moment, Patrick. All right. Is this Tim? Tim Rathbone, how are you?
Yeah. Good.
Tim Rathbone, are you still in the hospital?
No, I got out 1:30 in the morning.
You got out at 1:30 in the morning? It sounds like they threw you out. Did they have to wake you up first?
No.
1:30 in the morning? What an ungodly hour.
Well, that's when the doctor came in with the results and told me what was going on. I got there at 1:30 in the afternoon, and I got up at 1:30 in the morning.
And you actually had a heart attack? Is that true?
No. Okay. I went to urgent care, and the doctor there did an EKG.
Okay, why did you go to urgent care?
Because I had chest pains.
Okay.
So having chest pains. Okay. So go to urgent care, and he says, you're having a heart attack. I said, okay. I go to the hospital, and the cardiologist comes in, and she says, you're not having a heart attack. I said, so what's going on? She says, well, we'll run all these tests, and we'll let you know in a few hours.
It sounds like a setup for a great joke, but I don't know what the punchline is yet. The good news is you're not having a heart attack. The bad news is you're pregnant.
Yeah.
I hope it gets your eyes, Tim.
Well, we're all glad you didn't have a heart attack.
What's that?
Yeah, me too.
So we're all glad Tim didn't have a heart attack. That would have been bad.
That's bad.
I saw my doctor yesterday, and he's going to do some more tests to figure out what's going on. But anyway.
Okay. But you're out of the hospital now.
I'm out of the hospital. I've been resting for 3 days now. Yeah, just like you told me.
Okay. I hope you didn't sign any kind of waiver.
No.
Here, sign this waiver before we push you out of the hospital at 1:30 in the freaking morning. That's why they did it, because
I got it
you're
right
waking
home.
up. You can't even read the damn thing.
Yeah. No. It was,
I hope everybody's out there is
Yeah.
laughing and enjoying this as much as you are, Tim, because I'm really giving it my all.
Ursus says, laughing
Well,
my
I
ass
was-
off. We
I
need a
was-
gender reveal party, Tim.
I was even laughing in the hospital. So
Really? When you were watching our show?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
No, that was Tuesday. No, no. No, I was home Wednesday night. Anyway.
Well, we're all very glad, but you don't know what it is yet. You just know, but you haven't, the pains haven't come back.
It's a boy.
Well, kind of. I've got a nodule in my lung from when I had pneumonia, and he says that might be causing you some pain or something. I don't know, but they did more blood tests, and I
Wow.
don't know. Well, I'll find out in a couple weeks when I go
Thank
back.
you. You just reminded me of my prop. You talked about nodules in your lungs.
Talk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Did you have anything you wanted to report or
the thing about-
anything? Did you have any kind of spiritual
the thing
insight
about-
or experience while you were laid up in the hospital?
Well, I was listening to some Bach and
Bach.
some really good music. Yes. Yeah. Anything.
So what about Bach do you like the
Yeah.
best? Do you like his air on a G string or his toccata and fugue and in D minor? Which of those do you like the best?
Anything that involves a G string's cool with me.
Bill, you can dress him up. You just can't take him anywhere. A G string.
Actually,
You know the air on a G string?
is-
Do you know that, Bill? I'm sure you've
Yeah.
heard it before. It's very famous. You may just not know it by its name.
I've seen a few G strings, but not the one you're talking about.
Okay, this one you hear.
Okay, this one you hear. Gotcha.
No.
That disappeared. Great move.
Thank you. Oh, I did that wrong. It's supposed to go like that.
my-
It's supposed to go. Yeah. There you go.
My favorite Bach piece is his cantata, Jesu der du meine Seele, which is a Christmas cantata. It's probably one of my favorite pieces. I sung it. in
You are my
choir.
what?
I really enjoyed it.
My sunshine? What is it? You are my what? What's that German word?
No, Jesus. Let me see.
Jesus.
Jesus, you are the soul of my. Jesus der du meine Seele. You're the. I don't know what the translation is. I've never.
Okay. There we go.
Anyway,
I'm
it's
feeling superior.
one of my
No,
favorites.
I don't know what it is either. I
Yeah,
had to
I like
memorize a little bit of German poetry when I was in German in high school, and one of it was Die Lorelei. You know that famous poem, Die Lorelei? It's about a Lorelei,
Yes.
which is
yes.
I think what the word they have for mermaids, right, on the Rhine.
Yep.
Ich weiß nicht, was soll es
in the Lorelei.
bedeuten, dass ich so traurig bin. Ein Märchen aus alten Zeiten, das kommt mir nicht aus dem Sinn.
Gesundheit.
I think that was the first part. Just kind of flows. Yeah, that's it. Holly knows this. Holly, golly. I'm so sorry. Ms. Sinatra. Jesu joy of man's dressing. That's what the translation is, Tim.
No, Jesus der du meine Seele, my soul. Jesus,
Okay.
wherever my soul, or something like that.
Like Jesus wants me for a
Oh.
sunbeam.
It's better than that. That's a much better piece.
Popcorn popping on the apricot tree.
Oh, no.
Now, if you sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, Mr. Real, do you know who wrote that? Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder, Wolfgang Mozart.
Nice.
Amadeus.
I love
Wolfgang
the movie.
Amadeus.
Here's just a little twit when he wrote that.
I love the movie that I watched in school. It was made back in like the
Mid 80s?
70s or 80s, and
85, 86, something.
so Mozart was quite the interesting human being. He wasn't just a musician alone. He had sort of the interesting proclivities.
Yes, he did. And it's something that is common to extremely creative individuals across time, possibly up to and including Joseph Smith.
Most likely.
I don't know.
Anything else, Tim?
Well, I want to talk about cults and I've been doxxed before, so I know what it's like. And I showed the cops what happened, and they went and talked to the person who did it to me.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. You got doxxed and the cops came?
Yes.
Do you want to share with us what happened?
They went and talked to the person who did it and told them to take it off of Facebook, which they did. Otherwise, they were going to get arrested.
What did they put on Facebook about you?
Oh, my address and everything. Put my address, my phone number, all this stuff they found out about me. And it's no fun.
It's a shitty thing to do. We're all debating. We're all debating religious history. Again, the church puts claims on it about what it means for priesthood and ordinances, but we're all just debating history, and we see bad history, we see bad treatment of people, and we're speaking to it, and then they come after you.
Mm-hmm. Colby has a question for you. Tim, he says, tell the truth, Tim. Were they strippers?
No. It was strippers. There was somebody that was pissed at me about something.
Oh. What were they pissed at you about?
Okay, it was an old girlfriend.
Was she a stripper?
No, she was not a stripper.
Well, matter of fact, she was.
There was an old girlfriend, and she got mad at you. Why did you get mad at you? Did you toss her to the side in a callous way?
No.
So you did it very gently.
No. Yeah, we broke up. I thought it was amicable, but apparently it wasn't. So.
You thought it was amicable, but she disagreed strenuously.
Yeah.
Okay. How long ago was this? And is the statute of limitations over?
4 or 5 years ago.
Really? Wow. That sounds like a passionate woman, Tim.
She was.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Thanks a lot, Tim. I'll let you go and.
Well, hang on.
Yeah, please.
Do you know these people that were going after Colch? They posted pictures of his house. You know that, right? They
No, tell us.
Of his house on. Yeah, they posted pictures of his house. Him. They found an organization he belongs to.
That's where they got the picture that they used to post that comment. He had like black rimmed glasses on. But they posted a picture of it. Where did they post this, Tim? And what's your basis of knowledge?
It's on X. They did it on X.
Who did it on X?
Well, it ties back to somehow.
What does it tie back to, Tim?
Pardon?
What does it tie back to?
Ward Radio, probably.
Why do you think that?
Or somebody associated with Ward Radio.
Like, where could I find the post?
I don't. I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, shoot it to me on Facebook Messenger. I don't necessarily want to share it here, but I'd like to take a look at it. I'd like to at least put my eyes on it and see what can be gathered by it.
Well, it has to be up under somebody's account, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And so who like is it just a comment under someone's main account, or is it the main account saying something, whether it's Word Radio or someone else?
I can't. See, we've been talking about this for a couple of days now, trying to figure everything out.
Yeah, if you find it, send it to me. I'd love to.
I will. But they found their business, his wife's Etsy account, and all this stuff. They really did dirty to him.
Yeah, it's gross.
It's not just Yeah, it's not just a simple doxing that they want to ruin his life.
Yeah, that's
Wow. I want to find these people because I want to return the favor.
yeah,
I ruin people's lives for a living.
yeah.
I know that Word Radio is already denying it. If you go to their latest video, somebody's posted some things, but they know they did it, and Word Radio is saying it wasn't us. But
Well, Kwaku also denied any responsibility for the violent meme video that he retweeted.
He
So they're
also,
very, very comfortable with redoing things that other people do and having other people do the things for them and then washing their hands and saying that they're not responsible. So your denial doesn't mean much. And that's your fault because of your history of lying about things like this.
it's not the only time, by the way.
That's
Arthur.
right.
He created a fake profile of a white kid that was a standard internet image. Do
Schultz?
you remember this?
What's
No,
his name?
Schultz wasn't the name. I would have to look it up and see if I can find it.
You had that off the top of your tongue all the time. I remember. You would remember that guy's name because you looked it up and found out this is just a picture that everybody uses on the internet. It wasn't a real picture. And it was another just fake person like Richard Nygren.
Yep. And Kwaku admitted before I figured out, somebody helped me, by the way, and kudos to who that was. And I don't remember the person, but kudos to you for helping me figure it out. But figured out that Kwaku, wish I could knew this other name, but this white person profile.
Schmidt. Trevor Larson says Schmidt.
Dave Schmidt. Yes. So
thank you, Trevor.
And Dave Schmidt talks as if he knows Kwaku, and Kwaku talks as if he knows Dave Schmidt. And then I discover that Dave Schmidt is a fake profile. So it's either, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's either Kwaku or it's like Stephen Smoot and Mike Parker. It's like a team of two guys doing something. But what makes the most sense is that it was just Kwaku. And either way, it's the same kind of bullshit. There's so much dishonesty on that side of things.
What's really disgusting about this is because Colch was defending Jenny Gage because of what Charlotte Barnes did and her husband were associated with Word Radio. That's how patriarchal and misogynistic these guys are. And
those are the women.
Colch and Jenny.
The Psych Word Radio women are patriarchal biatches. Yep. So you can imagine how bad their husbands are.
Yeah,
it's gross.
So it's real gross.
Yeah. And we have people on this side of things too who do gross things. And I think we've done a fairly good job of acknowledging them when those things happen and shining a light on that as well. And it'd be nice if somebody on that side of things did something. And again, it doesn't matter who it is. It can be the neo-apologist too. You don't hear, no offense, but you don't hear Jim Bennett, although he does it more than anyone. He'll do it here or there from time to time. But Terrell Givens, Patrick Mason, Sam, I forget what Sam's last name is. But you don't hear the guys on that side who are David. The brother does the podcast about LGBT folks, and then the other brother wrote the books on helping people through a faith crisis, and his name's Dave Osler. Yeah, Dave Osler.
I knew it from that.
And Richard Osler. And you don't hear Dave Osler saying things like that either. You don't hear Jared Halverson calling out the bad guys. You don't hear anybody on that neo-apologist side. Jim Bennett does it more than anyone, by the way, and so I'll give kudos to Jim for stepping out there from time to time.
I should call him right now.
Yeah.
It's gross. Call Jim.
Yeah.
And see what he thinks about that.
Okay. Hey, you guys keep talking. Let me just call Jim. Okay.
Yeah.
As soon as I get him, I wouldn't do that to him.
Ask him if he doesn't mind being on the show if you're going to put him on, but yes. Yeah. But you can ask him off the air. You can mute yourself and just ask him off the air.
I could call Kwaku, but he's probably hosting some kind of party.
Tim, these games have been, you've followed Mormon history for decades.
I don't want to call Rick Bennett by accident. Here we go. I'll put myself on mute.
Sweet. This behavior goes all the way back. I mean, again, the Metcalf is butthead is such a goofy one to point to. But Lou Midgley and Bill Hamlin and Dan Peterson, these guys, have been taking low blow shots at people since the beginning. It's the mode of
I
operandi.
confronted Dan and Lou at times. When I was at BYU, I confronted Dan and Lou both about things. They're just assholes. That's all.
Lou Midgley. Hey, Jim, this is RFM calling you. We're doing the Mormonism After Dark, and I was calling you to see if you want to be on the show. It is live. It's going on right now. We're at the 1 hour and 10-minute mark. If you want to go back and check and see if I'm kidding. So we just wanted to see if you wanted to weigh in on what happened to Colch and his family, and hopefully we'll find out more about you. I only thought about you because Bill mentioned your name. And then I remember that you're kind of friendly with Cultch. I mean, I think you've been on his show a couple times, and I think you know him. And I thought maybe you knew about this and you'd have some opinions about it. Anyway, hope things are going great. Love you. Talk to you later. Bye.
So there you go.
Okay. So can't raise him.
Yeah, Jim doesn't like this kind of behavior. I wish he was a little more vocal at times. There's been times in the past where he didn't say much, but also it's the position that believers are in, and you can't really call out the unhealthy people. You can't call out your church leaders for creating 13 dummy companies. So you realize, like, this is the game you have to play with the church, whether it's the apologist or whether it's the church itself.
Very good. What do you say? Patrick looks like he's withering on the vine.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Anything else? And otherwise, I'll let you go.
Well, Lou Midgley used to hide books in the BYU library that he didn't like.
Yeah.
And he'd hide them in the government documents section.
Because no one's going to look there, huh?
Well, I found them.
One time I was
there. Something else, and I found all these books stuffed behind some other books. And I thought, what are these doing here? And there were books that I was looking for, other people were looking for. And somebody told me that that's what Lou was down there. I knew the librarian for the government documents, Connie Lamb, and she says, "Oh, he was down here looking at some stuff." He says, "Well, look at all these books that he's stuck back here, like 7 or 8 books that were hidden." It's like, it's nuts.
There's only one way your side wins. It's when you cheat. It's the only way your side wins.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And it's very sad. It's very sad.
Well, thank you for the story, Tim. Have a great night.
Yeah. And
you're welcome. You guys.
Getting better, okay?
All right. I will.
Bye-bye.
You make me better.
Thank you. It is the power of Grayskull.
All right, Patrick. Welcome to Mormonism After Dark. How are you this evening?
I'm doing well. You guys look as handsome as ever.
Look at that.
I'll choose to take that as a compliment. Thank you.
And
where are you and why is it bright there?
Yeah, I've got a little bit too much light in this room, but there's only one light, so that's all I can do.
I mean, is it daytime?
No, it's dark, but the light is like right on my face, unfortunately.
Oh my gosh, I thought you were in Australia or like on the sun.
Yeah. So do you want to start with something a little spicy before we get into what I really called about?
I have no idea. I feel like you're a chef.
It's Mormonism After Dark, right?
Yes.
Right. What's the spicy?
Okay. So Bill, a couple of weeks ago, you laid a couple breadcrumbs out about, well, let me just say that I'm never going to hear the phrase 4 inches again without thinking of Elder Carrington.
Albert Carrington, yes. But you don't realize the thing that doesn't get told in the story is that Albert only had a 3-inch penis. So for him, it was just like, balls to the wall, and he couldn't get in any trouble. So he was.
I was going to say, how did he know he was at 4 inches? Did he mark things off, or did he? Was that the whole enchilada?
That was more than the whole enchilada. You always, when you play these kinds of games, you always make the sin be bigger than what you bring to the table. So.
Yeah. All right. Well. Anyway, I called in about a month ago and asked about the word print or stylometry.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't show my face, and so I'm being brave tonight and coming out of the closet.
What's changed?
I figured, if there's any family members that are watching Mormonism After Dark, well, that's just the way it's going to go.
They'll now know about Albert Carrington.
It's their own damn fault for watching the show.
Yeah, and then I started out with the 4-inch story. So I asked about that, and And RFM, you remembered that you had talked about this topic, the word print studies, in the video called A Marvelous Work and a Blunder.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went back and Googled that, or found it on YouTube, and went through episode 1 and then 2, and then I found it in episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
And
keep
it
getting better
wasn't,
and better.
yeah, it wasn't a side topic. It was like an hour worth of research that Bill had done. I mean, it was amazing.
Bill does great research.
Yeah. So I kind of went down the rabbit hole of word print.
Oh, you're laughing. You
few
do
weeks.
great research, Bill. You shouldn't be so humble.
I do our mediocre research. All right. So I like it.
I'm being serious.
No, I know you are. I don't like compliments. So let's just move on.
Oh, okay. He doesn't like compliments. Patrick, no more compliments to Bill.
Okay,
I
no
can
more
take them, though. I'm
Well,
strong enough
Well,
to take
RFM, you look like you're ready for the opera. I mean, you're.
I do. I look
spectacular
pretty
today,
dashing,
RFM.
don't I?
Yeah.
You look
yeah.
great.
See, Bill, that's how you do it. It's very simple.
And Bill, you look like you're ready for the Santa Fe opera, maybe.
The Santa Fe Opera? What kind of crack is that, Patrick?
No, it's just a little low key.
I thought that was a compliment. What kind of shit remark was that, Patrick?
No, they do, like, you go down there and have dinner and like do some tailgating, and then you go to the opera. It's a little bit more laid back, but it's still classy. It's a classy affair.
The truth is, he has a DJ gig after the show tonight.
All right, so I went back to this episode, and if you'll remember, the church had this VR headset, and they're trying to make this analysis of their word print study. They call it style poetry.
Right, so
and
you could have depth, you could have
represented by a
3D.
bunch of green spheres.
Oh yeah.
And you and Bill were trying to figure out, okay, how wide, how dense is this cloud of spheres of the Book of Mormon compared to the other 4 authors that they studied?
Yes.
And so I looked at that and I thought, if you slice the green ones that represent the Book of Mormon in half, each of those 2 sets of globes probably represent the same of each of those authors, which made me think their own study is pointing to 2 authors.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Don't you think?
Yes,
so
go ahead.
then
You're saying that the Book of Mormon, if you take the word print analysis and you spread it out as dots of authors, that if you just put it in the 2 areas where it accumulates, that would be the same spread you would find for some other author of their multiple books in the heights of literature.
Yeah. And to go further to that point, I found I went to Rob Terry's Wheat and Tares article that you mentioned, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
And Scripture, and he linked to Scripture Central, or somebody linked to Scripture Central, and they had a 3-minute or 4-minute YouTube video. But in that, they actually have let me find the name of they have a voice diversity score for each of those clusters. And the voice diversity score for Cooper was 1.1, for Austin 1.4, for Twain 1.5, and for the other one, I forget who the other one was. It was 1.9. So it was like 1 to 2 was the spread for the 4 authors, 1 and 2 in the voice diversity score. The Book of Mormon score was 3. So it was exactly double the average of the others. So when you look at those things in a VR in a 3D model, and if you want to know exactly precisely what numerically those represent for the Book of Mormon compared to the other authors, on average, the Book of Mormon was about double. So their own study is showing, if you trust their study, most likely that there's 2 authors. And so then I started looking at all the other studies that Rob Terry was talking about. And, a lot of them come out with multiple authors as well, 2 or 3 authors. So it seems like we're kind of in the 2 to 3 authors realm.
Yeah. And that makes sense. That's what my understanding is as well. And then I'll also add to that when you account for Mosiah priority, it works in a trajectory. So the dots do fall all over, but they work generally across a diagonal angle. And it is in practically the same order as Mosiah priority, that slow trajectory change in the voice of the author.
Yeah. So Rob thinks that there's, he points out that there's a narrative voice and a sermon voice, and then a late voice, somebody that's like Joseph is adding in his ideas more so towards the end of the translation process. And so
accounting for the fact that he had years to work on it. Again, when 1822 shows up and Moroni visits, and then Joseph kicks the can down the street to 23, to 24, to 25, 26, gets the Book of Mormon, I think in 27. He's got 4 or 5 years there where he's buying himself time. He tells everybody, I'm going to have these plates. And then he goes, no, sorry, I'm mistaken. I need another year. And then he comes back again. I'm going to get those plates. Nope, I need another year. And so when the rational mind who looks at Mormonism as not being legitimate recognizes that most likely explained by somebody who thinks it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to have to get this done, this project completed before it actually is. And so Joseph is out there working. Now, at the time, remember, he wants Alvin to come with him first. He says, God says Alvin's the secret. I got to take Alvin with me.
Yeah.
His brother was highly involved with him. With Randy Bell's talked about how Hiram went to Dartmouth and brought a lot of information back. It's not outside the realm of a conversation around this topic to say Joseph had plenty of time and plenty of people who were allies to the work, who loved him and would protect him at all costs. And so to have a secondary voice, whether it's Rigdon or a sibling of Smith, I know, but people want to make that argument, a sibling of Smith. Rigdon, in terms of authorship analysis, Rigdon and Smith make more sense than 27 different authors or at least 6 main voices.
Right.
So anyway, just note all of that.
By the way, I'm so sorry. I was off the phone. I was muted intentionally.
Yep.
And I was talking because Jim Bennett called me back. So I was talking with him. He's out walking his dog. And he's saying, can we wait till I get back? And I said, how long are you going to take? He said, 20 minutes. I said, no, that's not going to cut it. So I sent him a link, Bill. I was technologically savvy enough to send him a link. And so he's called on the phone on the StreamYard link.
Yep. And I will. Yep. I got him down below so I can bring him on. Patrick,
Patrick, I don't want to give Patrick such short shrift. And I'm sorry I wasn't paying attention to what you were saying.
No. You're all good. So I was going to say, Patrick, what do you want to say about that sort of?
Well,
yeah.
So what I wanted to say was that, that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's the Ghost Committee episode, which plays into this. The E mod E. If you start looking at where that language
early modern
shows
English,
up,
folks.
Oh yeah, sorry. And at first I was thinking, is this kind of like Hick language, or no? It sounds like KJV language. It's more intellectual, so it would pair better with someone like Spalding than it would with Rigdon or Smith. And then you talk about Thomas Murphy, his influences with the Native American cultures, and how
is Patrick trying to peddle a Spalding theory?
What I'm saying is, now that we know that the Book of Mormon is a 19th century literary work, so there's a very limited number of people that could potentially have written the Book of Mormon. And if the church's own stylometry work and a lot of the other works, including Rob Terry, and Rob Terry was very clear and persuasive, and he's a faithful member. He said that it looks like to him probably 3 authors, probably the narrator, the sermon, and then probably Joseph Smith layering in his influence towards the end of the book.
Let me tell you something. I can account for 2 of them easy. There's a narration, and then there's a sermon giver. Okay, those are 2 completely different kinds of talking in the first place. And I'm sure there's a third one in there as well that would be accounted for completely naturally. That's what I think, just with one author.
Well, but if you look at the narrator versus the sermon voice, Rob Terry's perspective and what I've been looking at is in his analysis is it more likely that Joseph Smith had the capability as a 22, 23, 24-year-old?
It is more likely, but go ahead, Patrick. I know you're asking it as a rhetorical question, expecting the answer to be no, but I say yes. Go ahead.
It's more likely that he could create the narrator voice and the sermon voice separately and have all these distinct profiles between the 2.
Mm-hmm. It's easier for one guy to be 2 voices than 2 voices to be 7 authors.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is that this reminds me of the DNA population studies, where early on it was a little cloudy, a little muddy. The church is able to kind of, throw a wrench into things a little bit to confuse people. But over time, that research got so clear that there's no more debate over what the science shows on DNA population studies. But
we had a guy who called in last week who was debating about it.
Well, I know, but in the real world, the large language models with AI are perfectly suited to help us understand better in the future these word print analyses. And I'm pretty confident within not too many years, you're going to get a very precise a very precise modeling that allows us to narrow in on it. In the meantime, I keep asking myself, again, that same question: what's more likely, this or that? This or that? Could somebody who's never written anything in his life create a narrator voice that's so consistent throughout the Book of Mormon, interweaved throughout the Book of Mormon, and the sermonizing voice interweaved throughout the Book of Mormon very consistently, and do that all in his head? And then when he loses the 116 pages, come back and Nephi shows up totally different than the rest of the authors. Why, if it was all in his head, why didn't he just go recite the 116 pages worth of manuscript data a second time?
Well, because he was worried they still had it.
Right. But he didn't have to do it exactly. He didn't have to do it exactly. If it was in his head.
He felt he had to do it exactly. That was Joseph Smith's understanding of translation. I don't mean to belabor the point. I know we're going to very, very important points and different ones and potentially complicated ones. And but let's see. I'll give this to you, Patrick. How can we tie this up in a minute?
I'll just say that every time I see a video where you're saying, how could Joseph Smith have known that? Like you did with the RFM with your videos about the Adam Clark commentary.
Well, of course, but I'm saying it on behalf of the apologists, right?
Yeah. How could Joseph Smith have known that? I keep saying to myself, how could Joseph Smith or Spalding and Rigdon have known that, since they're the two most likely alternatives to Joseph Smith? And I think that Lars Nelson's book was convincing enough that I think we need to keep an open mind to the fact that we're going to find out probably pretty soon with these AI models on word print analysis. In the meantime, I'm going to keep asking myself, does this evidence support an educated person like Spalding, and then a very trained preacher like Rigdon, or is it more likely that a 20-something-year-old kid who'd never written anything in his life before was able to pull off these different things? Like the E-mod E, that early modern English is most likely coming, to me, it's more likely coming through Spalding, who was highly educated and also is a generation ahead of Joseph Smith.
They never met.
No, I don't think they had to meet. And this takes me back to the DNA. Like when you're in Ancestry.
Okay, now see, we're jumping around. I gave it to you to tie up in 60 seconds, and you were disappointing me, Patrick.
Okay, give me 10 more seconds to wrap it up. When you're in DNA and you find somebody that says, hey, you've got a cousin named John Smith, and you say to yourself, I don't know a John Smith. It doesn't matter what the documentary evidence is. You still have a cousin named John Smith. And the word print analysis is going to get good enough that it doesn't matter if we don't know that Joseph Smith met Solomon Spalding. It's going to show us that Solomon Spalding's work is in the Book of Mormon.
I don't believe that anyway. You know why I don't believe that? Because I was buying into it at first when you said it. Because I think it's garbage in, garbage out. And I think that if somebody, it's the same, it's going to just increase the same debate that's been going on since the beginning of this stuff, is one side saying to the other that they're rigging the game in favor of their conclusions. And you got to be able to do that with AI as well, don't you? Or maybe it's supposed to be more objective, but I hear all the time about AI telling a person what it is they want to hear. You know what I mean?
It will. Let's just end it here because we wanted to get on to Jim Bennett. But I'll just note that AI has so much more improvement it can get, and it's going to be so amazing that folks don't even know the potential of what it can be. So I agree with you, Patrick. We'll have a lot more to learn. So thank you. Have a great day, my friend.
Okay, thanks. Love you guys. See ya.
Love you too.
All right, Jim Bennett. Jim Bennett, how are you?
I corralled Jim Bennett.
Yeah,
you got 10 seconds left in the show.
Let's hang on a minute,
Say
RFM.
whatever you want to say. Okay, now 5 seconds.
What, you're gonna smoke while I talk here? Is that the plan?
I'm not in the same room. You should count yourself lucky. What is it? You want me to share? Is that the
No,
problem? You don't have
no,
any, and you're jealous.
No, I'm good.
You haven't
good.
seen this show before. You're telling me
I-
volumes.
I didn't know you were smoking. I was just listening to Patrick, and I want to talk about what you wanted me to talk about, but
Yeah, because I
it's just
called you. You were
stunning
out
to
in
me
the
that-
dark.
oh yeah,
And you
yeah,
were walking your dog, and I told you that we called you about Colch because he just got something bad happened, and he just took all the stuff down yesterday, posted a goodbye, and you said you hadn't heard about this.
You know what? I had seen a notification about it actually, but I thought it was from a long time ago because he went through this very early on. I mean, he before he was podcasting, he was doing his musical parodies and doing all these things.
Yes.
And nobody knew his real name, but then he announced his real name because I think what's his name? The Dr. Manhattan guy. He's like, I know where you
I don't know
live,
this
and I know what
person.
ward you're in.
Who's that?
So what? You don't know Dr. Manhattan?
No.
What is his name? Ben Rogers is his name. He's a millionaire who lives in my mother's stake.
I think you're going to say in your mother's basement.
Not in my mother's basement. That's my son who lives there. Actually, he's living here for the summer, but my son's going to the University of Utah, and my mom's within walking distance of the U.
Okay.
But he lives up in the avenues. He's the guy, that video went viral. He was driving in a Cybertruck and starts yelling at everybody and saying, I'm going to rip off your head and spit down your throats. What was so funny is
I missed that.
he's threatening their lives, but he won't say the S word. He says spit instead of,
Instead of shit down your throat.
There you go. See,
I just get videos about girls in bikinis. I don't get these kind.
And well, anyway, he was threatening to dox Culch, and Culch doxed himself and said what his name was. And
when did this happen, Jim?
This is a couple of years ago, I think.
Oh, so this is a first doxing.
That was the first doxing.
Excuse me.
So I mean, everybody knows where he lives. At least they know that he lives in Florida. That's all I know. I don't know his home address. Everybody's seen his face. Everybody knows his name, like Norm at Cheers. But he still goes by Culch. I mean, you still go by RFM, even though I think there's a different name on your birth certificate. So were you Radio Free Mormon on your birth certificate?
From the day I was born.
From the day you were born with a cigarette in your mouth.
Jim, what do you think about this? So Colch just suddenly says, I've made the difficult decision to stop making content. I've taken down my YouTube and social media accounts. This space has been incredibly helpful in healing. It's an incredible community that I'm grateful for. Thank you all so much for supporting me. It's been great meeting and interacting with you here on Patreon. I appreciate you all. I wish you the best, Colch. And RFM put out a TikTok yesterday, I believe it was, right, RFM? The 22nd? Yesterday?
My TikTok? My TikTok? This morning.
This morning.
Late this morning.
And RFM has a little bit of inside information, which is that somebody on the inside of the church, a Mormon, has on some level gone
ape shit.
Ape shit to attack Colch's personal life, go after him professionally, tried to, essentially dox him in all ways and give him difficulty in his personal life because you don't agree with somebody who doesn't believe in the same religious history that you do.
So are we going to play that? Were you going to play that, Bill?
Let me do that. I can do that. Let me do it.
By the way, I giggled, and I wasn't giggling at that. I was giggling at the thing where it talked about the fake cigarette. I just want that on there.
Fake. It's a fake. It's like a prop.
Here it is, Jim. This is RFM this morning.
That's this morning. As many of you may have heard, Cultural Hall, also known as Culch, the post-Mormon podcaster of immense talent, has just taken down all of his podcasts and announced his departure from the podcasting scene. I know a little bit about what's been going on behind the scenes, and I have been authorized by Cultch to share the following. First off, this is caused by online Mormons. Yes, Mormons. Mormons don't like it when you tell the truth about their religion. These are the kind of things that they will do to stop you from telling the truth about their religion. Online Mormons have threatened and harassed not only Cultural Hall himself, but also his family and his family business. And this is why he has taken down his podcast. This is what Mormons do when you tell the truth about their religion. Son of a bitch must pay. As many of your thoughts, Jim?
It does not surprise me that the cruelty is coming from within the house, from within the church, because this has been my experience as well. I mean, I don't know how anybody could dox me. I ran for office several times, and I think my address is pretty easy to find. If someone wants to come after me, they know my name. They can find where I live. But it's... I have said many, many times that real life members of the church, in my experience, have been almost universally wonderful. And online members of the church, who are particularly anonymous online members of the church, are not only the worst members of the church, but very often just the worst human beings on the planet. The kind of viciousness that I have been subjected to online, and they've attacked my children. I posted a family picture once, and somebody cropped out a picture of my son and said, Jim Bennett has a mentally disabled child, which I don't. And I showed it to my son. I'm like, what are they saying? Why do they think you're... I mean, they're just so relentlessly cruel, and the cruelty is the point. And I don't think it is representative of the church as a whole. I really don't. At the same time, I haven't deleted my Twitter account, but I have like 4,000 followers on Twitter, and I made it a private account, and I never post there anymore because it's nothing but cruelty, and the cruelty comes from members of the church. It doesn't come from former members of the church.
Tim Rathbone was on earlier, and he was telling us that some of this doxing and pictures of him and his family in his house. Is that what he said, Bill?
Yeah, but was that I think his story was an ex-girlfriend or something, wasn't it?
No, but that was a different story. But he also talked about what happened with, or his understanding of what happened with, I think he said he saw it over on X.
Oh, yeah.
It was on Twitter. In other words, it was X.
Somebody was putting pictures of Colch's home.
Where this probably happened.
Basically saying, like, I know where you live. I know what you do, because they had a picture of him within his profession too. And you were about ready to say something, Jim, and I think what you were going to say, and please correct me, but you were going to say that it's not the ex-Mormons, it's not the post-Mormons who are going after people on a personal level. Like you and I have had disagreements. I've disagreed with the way that you've shown up at times, and I've said that out loud. But I think you can imagine, I would never go after you in your profession. I would never put a picture of your house on the internet. I would never tell people to do something malicious. There's a certain group on the inside, and it's not just anonymous people. Some of the apologists of a certain walk treat people really horribly and feel like the ends justify the means. And I'm sure you see some of that as well.
Oh, I see quite a bit of it. I went through a little bit of this, and I hesitate to even raise this because it's finally died down. But there was I invited Douglas Stilgo to sing as a musical guest with the Tabernacle Choir.
Yes.
And a picture of that ended up online.
Because of me.
No, not because of you. Because a member of the choir took the picture, posted it publicly, and then they posted it, and it became... I was astonished.
Because of my picture. They took my picture.
They did not take your picture.
So I'm clear.
You are totally clear.
Let me out, Gordon.
But this picture went online, and the comments on X attacked my children. They're like, Jim Bennett is lied about my children. I mean, it's just absolutely stunning how cruel they are willing to be. And I've experienced this on a number of different occasions. Jacob Hansen, at one point, there was a guy in the choir who has a very, very small social media footprint. I mean, he posts every once in a while, and he's posted about being in the choir. And at one point, he posted a something with a pride symbol, something, I mean, very innocuous. And Jacob blew that up and said, please call the Tabernacle Choir office and make sure that this guy's kicked out of the choir. And I jumped in to defend him. And I didn't even know him at the time. I had seen him from a distance. I got to know him after this incident, and we've had long conversations about it. The choir leadership in every single one of these instances has been absolutely wonderful and supportive. But the kind of cruelty that is leveled against people, not even just people, it's actually, I think, to some degree more intense. And maybe I'm victimizing myself, but to some degree, it's more intense with members who do not fit the mold that these online members want. I mean, that's the worst thing in the world, is to actually say you're a member of the church, a believing member of the church, which I continue to be, and yet I don't hate LGBTQ people nearly enough for Jacob Hansen's liking and for other people's liking, and whatever other sort of touchstones they want to do to say that you're a faithful member of the church. And they're relentless. They're vicious. And Culch is out of the church, obviously, but Culch's footprint is pretty large, and Culch is very good at what he does. Culch has committed the unforgivable sin of being effective and being funny. I mean, Culch puts out content that is really funny and really effective, and even members of the church have to concede, yeah, that's pretty good. Good job. And so that's that, if Culch were just another crank out there just yelling the church sucks, they'd probably ignore him. The fact that they're attacking him is, I think, a demonstration of how effective he is.
I don't want to play gotcha. You were generous enough to call up and to have a conversation with us and to talk about this. But I would be remiss if I didn't at least note that our religious history is full of shenanigans. Brigham Young's violent rhetoric, Danites, whistling whittlers, Richard Lyman doing polygamy in the privacy of his own home, and Spencer Kimball getting the police chief of Salt Lake to kick down the door. Desnat, and our leaders, and I say our because I still consider myself Mormon to some degree. Our leaders have a whole ton of instances of covering their ass and being dishonest and having violent rhetoric and justifying really bad behavior. And I worry about a group of people who pay, again, the apologists, the ones who know Culch, swim in these waters. They watch church history and they see the bad behavior and they justify it at all costs. You, Jim, I'll give you kudos. And I did before you came on. I said, Jim Bennett is the only one who, at least from time to time, steps forward and says, like, that's really bad that we did that on the inside. And I'll just note that people who know the church's history, see the bad things happen and justify them at all costs, may not see anything wrong with bad behavior.
No, I can't. I'm not going to take issue with that. I think that's probably correct. What I want to do is add a little bit of context to it, because one of the things that, and I don't want to betray any confidences. I don't know how much I'm supposed to say or how much I'm not supposed to say.
You're supposed to say it all.
I'm supposed to say it all. I know, yes. But there are boundaries. I mean, we've come across this before. And one of the boundaries is I don't want to embarrass somebody who has shared in confidence with me.
Who are we talking about?
We're talking about general authorities who are aware, not only aware, but horrified by what is happening online. They are aware of it. They are horrified by it. They want it to stop. And the peacemaker talk by Elder Nelson, President Nelson, which has been now reiterated in the latest conference, and also been reiterated by Dallin Oaks. It is aimed squarely at DesNat, and DesNat just pretends it doesn't exist.
You have to say what you're saying, otherwise the person is not going to hear it.
Everybody assumes they're talking about somebody else, and I've had that aimed at me, and said, well, you're doing exactly the same thing because you're saying it's aimed at them and not at you. I believe absolutely it is aimed at me. And I consider President Nelson's peacemaker talk to be certainly the most inspired thing he has ever said at a pulpit, and maybe certainly one of the most inspiring things I've ever heard from a general conference pulpit. It is a message that the church desperately needs at the moment. And there is a toxic underbelly sludge online that is immovable and refuses. I mean, these are the same guys who are like, yes, you need to be really supportive of the church and you need to be really orthodox. Okay, get a vaccine and wear a mask. Oh, he's talking as a man. He didn't command us to do that. He only urged us to do that. You know, these are guys that put their politics before they put their faith. And again, the church is aware of it, and I think has no idea what to do about it at this point.
Is there nothing that they can do?
Well,
what would you do
now
if you were an
we're coming
apostle?
up on a boundary here to some degree, in that the church does not take kindly to being told what they ought to do and being told that I think they recognize the problem, and I think that you have seen somewhat tentative attempts to deal with it, and I think they are aware that they haven't been successful, and so I'm hoping that means there will be more aggressive attempts to deal with it. And
Jim,
if I were president of the church, that's what I would do, but I am not president of the church.
Can I at least ask, and again, you can say whatever, but aren't again, not maybe some of them individually are incredible, great, but aren't they collectively part of the problem? Don't they do things that obfuscate unhealthiness and hide bad behavior and run from accountability?
Well, that's a rabbit hole that I don't know that we have time to dive down, because that starts to encompass a whole lot more than just the bad behavior of people who are harassing people online. To a person, the general authorities that I have met and that I have spoken with and visited with are believers, are well-meaning, well-intended people, and they are also people. They are not demigods. They are not superheroes. They encounter God in the same way the rest of us do.
So not at all.
So, well, no, I'm not going to go there with you. I'm not going to concede that.
You said the rest of us.
Well, the rest of us who believe we encounter God.
Ah, okay.
I mean, I believe I encounter God, but I have never had a first visions experience. I have never had a personage appear to me. But I have felt that divine connection, and I felt that within the church. And I think that to a person, I mean, some of these people that I have met, I like more than others. I mean, the one that I constantly reference, Patrick Kieran, was in my ward for years. Yeah. When my daughter was injured and suffered a spinal cord injury, Patrick Kieran, who had just come into the ward at that point, he and his wife were at the hospital, didn't know us, and spent a whole, anything we can do for you, please let us know. Patrick Kieran, I always tell people, he is exactly what you would want an apostle to be. He is delightful in conference, and he's even more delightful in person. That has not been my experience with some general authorities that I will not name.
So what do you think of Elder Bednar?
I'm not. I think you're going to get me in trouble. I'm
just
not
asking you
going
a
to give
direct
you a
question.
rundown of how I feel about every single apostle.
Hey, I'll change the topic for a second and bail you out, Jim. I just want to note, I own your father's book. I've got Bob's book, Leap of Faith. Phenomenal book. When I was a believer, this book was delicious. He made connections that I just found to be the way my brain thinks and how I find connections, and reminds me a lot of RFM and how he finds connections in historical things or in the scriptures. But last Wednesday, we did an episode on Douglas Stringfellow. You ever heard of him?
I have.
Wow.
So we talked about your grandfather, I think.
My grandfather was involved in that. He's the
Wallace Smith. Yes.
Yeah.
And so in that episode, we did mention your grandfather, and it's a really fun episode. And your grandfather, doesn't do anything that tarnishes his credibility, but he's involved in the story of young Douglas Stringfellow, and it was quite a fun story to tell. Anyway,
Grandpa incidentally ran afoul of the political wisdom of the day, and he was elected to the Senate in 1950. There were 2 freshman Republican senators elected that year. One was Wallace F. Bennett. The other was Richard M. Nixon, and they became very good friends. And Nixon serenaded my grandfather at his 75th birthday. But Grandpa was also, he voted for the Civil Rights Act, and the Bensonites and the Scousenites thought he was a communist, just despised him. So I come from a long line of progmos, even though he was a loyal Republican until the day he died.
But even a progmos, I'm sorry, trying to bring it back to where we started, because we are going to have to end the show here pretty soon.
Right.
But even a progmo such as yourself still finds despicable these kind of tactics used against cultural hall. Is that true, Mr. Bennett?
Well, I don't think you have to be a progmo or an exmo or a TBM or anything to think bad behavior is despicable. And
well, apparently you do, because these guys are doing it.
Well, this is the thing. Bad behavior should be condemned, no matter where it comes from. And the idea that we're going to excuse bad behavior because somebody might belong to a club that we belong to, or might believe something that we believe, or somehow has some kind of tribal marker that allows us to excuse cruelty and viciousness, I'm just not willing to do that. There's no reason to do that. I think the goodness in the church vastly outweighs the bad, and that there are a great many good and wonderful people in the church, and great many good and wonderful people in church leadership. But the loudest, most vicious, most cruel members are the ones with the biggest presence online, and they're the first point of contact for a lot of people. I mean, if you're just wandering the internet and you're trying to find out more about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and you go on to X, who do you find? You don't find Richard Bushman. You don't find Patrick Kieran. I mean, they post, but they don't engage the way that Desnat does. What you find is Desnat. What you find are vicious, terrible people, regardless of what their membership status is. They are cruel, they are unkind, and I have no problem calling them out, and I would very much like to see more of that coming through official channels.
Okay.
Yeah, somebody has to say something. Somebody has to stand up, because nobody listens to the post-Mormons standing up and shining a light on it. Somebody on the inside has to do it.
Otherwise, they are condoning it.
Well,
it goes along with being a leader. I mean, you know that as well as anybody, Jim.
I can't argue with you on that. I can't argue with you. I've got the battle scars. I mean, I tried to fight the good fight. One of the things, just very quickly, I know you want to come to the end of this.
We actually have a phone call, RFM, and the Q Bank as well. So take your time, Jim, but I'm going to make RFM stay even just a few minutes longer to at least give that person a chance. They've been waiting for 53 minutes. So
I hope it's Barry Richens, because Bill Reel often dumps him accidentally. Sorry, Barry, it's a total mistake. It's not on purpose.
It's happened once.
I just
I'm sorry, Jim.
Go ahead, Jim. Sorry.
well, I just want to when Aaron Sherinian was named the PR director for the church, I was thrilled because Aaron Sherinian was the bishop in my father's ward when my father died. And I got to know him in a pastoral sort of setting. He was over at our house, at my parents' house, all 6 of the children gathered around my father's deathbed for 3 weeks. And I don't know what that means, the late Aaron Sherinian.
It means that he's vanished. The moment all that stuff happened when he first was called with the Facebook post being an LGBT ally, his name is not mentioned anywhere. We've seen him in one picture at a meeting somewhere with an apostle, and other than that, Aaron Sherinian has disappeared.
I think that will slowly change. I think
good, because it's not like it's been a year and a half.
Well, I think part of it is that Aaron Sherinian is very, very good at what he does.
What does he do?
He's the PR director for the church.
How would we know?
He's on the masthead.
His name.
Well, the point being, a good PR director knows that there's a problem when you become the story. And I think this is Aaron not wanting to be the story. And I think that I'm saying
he's consenting to being hidden by the church because of his advocacy for LGBTQ plus issues.
I think it's more complicated than that.
What do you think about what I said?
An element to it, but I think part of it is him saying, "Okay, I'm a distraction. I don't want to be a distraction. I want to serve my client, and if I'm a distraction to my client, then I'm not doing my job." That's my sense of it.
But then, President Nelson says, "You're not a distraction, my boy. In fact, we love you. We knew about this when we hired you because we are the Mormon Church and we do background checks, for crying out loud. This is what we want you for. Don't be bashful. Come out here and be the face of the PR department."
When my father was still alive, he and Aaron Sherinian would work together on a number of different projects. My father was a private consultant after he left the United States Senate. And Dad told me that the church had approached him multiple times, had approached Aaron Sherinian multiple times and wanted him in that position. And Aaron Sherinian had consistently sort of turned them down.
Yes.
In
other words, he fully knew that this is what the outcome would be.
I don't know if he knew that this is what the outcome would be so much as he recognized. I mean, I don't think that's why he didn't want to work for the church. I think he was making very good money. When I met him, he was the head of the United Nations Foundation.
That's full of graft. Yeah, he was making a lot of money. You're right. He laughed.
All right, I should probably quit while I'm ahead. I don't know that I'm doing anybody any good here.
Jim, thank you though. Thank you for being gracious enough to come into the studio and have a conversation around it. And this has been.
I wanted to say that because Jim's with a few people I know of who I think I can call, and if he answers, then great, and he'll actually come on. He would have been out there walking his dog on the show, running into lampposts.
He's now pissed on the carpet
and fire hydrants.
Yeah. My dog has been known to do such things. Yes.
Yeah. Anybody who says their animal hasn't pissed on the carpet ought to watch the carpet layer replace the carpeting.
Here's what Josh Kim says about you, Jim Bennett. It says, if Jim Bennett were leading the church, the very foundations of hell would be shaken.
He would.
Oh, well, great. Nobody's offered. I was at Home Depot tonight and I bumped into my bishop. I had a long conversation with my bishop. It's been about 5 years since he's been called. And I said, "Oh, you're coming up on this." And he's like, "Yeah, but I think I'm going to stick around for a few more months." But and he's like, "But the next one's coming. And are you starting to feel any kind of stirrings?" And I was like, "Oh, no one's going to call me as a bishop. I'm way too much of a troublemaker, and I'm also off limits."
Those kind of stirrings.
Yeah, spiritual stirrings. I mean, my bishop is a good man. I think most people in the church are good people, but they're also people.
But not Jacob Hansen. We can agree on that. He's not a good person, is he?
I'm not a fan.
Good. I just want to make sure we left on something that we were
We
in
all
agreement on.
found consensus.
Okay,
So-
Jim. Have a great night, and thank you so
too.
much for coming
Thanks.
on.
Good to
Take
talk
it
to you.
Thank you so much, Jim. You're the best.
You guys are awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Uh,
Stirrings of immortal longing. I can't remember. That stirrings is just making me think of some quote, and I was trying to find it, and I can't.
I'm proud of myself. I asked him the hard questions, but I respected him answering them the way he did. And I think if you read between the lines, you got what Jim Bennett is good for giving you, which is the truth, but from a faithful, playing a little careful point of view, acknowledging the problems. If you understand what he's saying, I'll just note. We all know this quote: "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing." Martin Luther King. That was often attributed to Edmund Burke, but they don't know if that's actually from him or not. But Martin Luther King said, "In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends." Elie Wiesel said, "Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented." Desmond Tutu: "If you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." And Ella Wheeler Wilcox said, "To sin by silence when they should protest makes cowards of men." And so I'll just note that in lieu of what Ben or what Jim shared with us. We do have one more call, if you don't mind us taking that and spending just
of course not.
So caller, go ahead. What's the name?
Can I just stay anonymous?
You can stay anonymous.
No, you have to make up a name to be on the show.
You've been waiting an hour and 34 minutes, I believe.
Holy crap. We'll just call you old timer.
You can call me Double D, I guess. So yeah, I'm just watching your show. By the way, I don't know what my problem is, but whenever I go to your website, it tells me the show's not currently in session, so I can't go on the web.
Well, we're not on the website. Is that what the problem is, Bill?
Yeah, where are you trying to watch it?
The call-in studio. No, I'm watching on YouTube, but then the call-in studio on your marquee.
Oh, the call-in studio.
It always says
okay, so the call-in studio allows us to limit the number of calls that are in the queue. So when it's Mormonism Live, we only have 3 calls in the queue because that's all we take at the end of the show. Mormonism After Dark is open to 5 callers at any given moment. And so if the phone lines are full, then it will give some sort of message that says that you can't get through.
So Way Out Here podcast is saying you can link on YouTube.
Say that again, RFM.
Say again?
Saying we have a comment on the screen in the live chat, DD or Double D or Diamond Dave. Use the link on YouTube or Daredevil.
So yeah, there's a separate link that would let you come into the studio if you had a phone or a computer to do that with, and that would be even better and should work smooth, seamlessly.
Okay. Yeah, no big deal. I'll work it out.
Yeah, no worries.
I always miss you guys live. I always catch you after. I don't know when your shows are on. You have so many different shows to try to catch you live whenever I can. But I had a question for you. Maybe for a different show you could do. You know about? I think her name is Karen Hyatt. She did a video on YouTube about 7 months ago called "Woe to Ye Scribes."
HYATT or HIAT?
I think it's HYATT, like the hotels.
And what's the name of the video?
Woe unto ye scribes, I believe.
Oh,
it's 7 months old.
Like from Matthew chapter 23.
Hidden History of Polygamy.
Karen Hyatt, The Hidden History of Polygamy. Okay.
Never heard of it.
I watched about half of that so far, and it was interesting. And I know you guys have gone over some stuff, researched some documents, whatnot, like she's done in that video. I just wondered if you'd seen that and if you'd done any kind of analysis to there.
I haven't seen. Is it a polygamy denier?
I believe so. I mean, I can't.
Woe unto you scribes, of course. It's natural, isn't it? Woe unto you scribes. Because it's all the scribes' fault, you understand, documents. It's all those damn scribes writing down all this shit that never happened. And it wasn't Joseph Smith at all. It's always the scribe's fault. Always. Whenever Joseph Smith gets into trouble, he wasn't there. And if he was there, those fucking scribes were writing down God knows what kind of shit just to get him in trouble.
It's the blame the artist, but back in the 1840s.
Yeah, it's blame the scribes.
Rogue scribes.
These guys don't have an original idea in their head.
Rogues.
Have you ever thought that if there's hundreds of things pointing at Joseph Smith, that maybe, I don't know, he did it?
Right.
Why do you have to blame everybody and create a conspiracy of 10s and 20s and possibly even hundreds of people in order to keep your golden boy from getting some mud on his feet?
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest thing for me was the fact that I came across all the inconsistencies from the church, and some of your shows, I think in Mormon Stories as well, with some of the people talking about the fake stories that they tell from the pulpit and whatnot, and I just can't get over the fact that they're supposed to be these holy guys, but they sit there and lie to you from the pulpit.
It's not a lie if it keeps people in the church.
Right. Well, thank you, Dee Dee.
That's about all I had. I just want to know about. Yeah, I just want to know if you know about that video, and it'd be interesting to see you guys review that.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thanks for letting us know. There's so much stuff out there. It's amazing. People are just doing stuff all over the place.
Take it easy, Dee Dee. Thank you. Yeah, we could do an episode twice a day, couldn't we, if we wanted to cover everything that was happening?
We do have to pick and choose. It's true. But, honestly, I hope that was the last thing I was ever going to say about the subject was when we had Dan Vogel on. Just say, look, this is just crazy from the bottom up. And if you just look at the leaves and you look at them really close and you listen to the story they weave around them, then it might sound like they have an argument, but the tree is dead. The roots don't even connect to the tree. There are no roots, okay?
Yeah.
So this is a dead tree. So I don't care what the leaves look like because it's not grounded in reality.
What are the polygamy deniers going to? Of course, again, I've watched apologetics long enough. I already know the answer to the question. There is no piece of evidence which would convince those who would not like to be convinced. But at some point, the church will, I think, release. At some point, I don't think they go 100 more years not doing it. They will release the William Clayton Journal, and I think there will at least be things gathered from that in its entirety that allow us to see that he was actually a really good record keeper and keeping track of things as they were happening in Nauvoo.
Well, I guarantee you that's one conclusion that people who are polygamy deniers will never come to, no matter how overwhelming the evidence.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we're at the end. We're way past. We're 40
We're past the end. We're 37 minutes past the end, but that's because I was lucky enough to wrangle Jim Bennett onto the show.
Great conversation with Jim, too, by the way. I think that was the highlight of the show. And so sad on the front end with Culch, but a great conversation with Jim talking about it and trying to share some points of view and perspectives.
Yeah, I want to find some addresses, too, because I feel like taking a road trip somewhere.
Address. Oh, I got you. Yeah, we got to figure out who it is.
Hang on just a second here, okay?
Yeah.
Hey, Randy Bell.
That's me. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're on speakerphone. I can hear you. Bill Real can hear you, and 493 other people can hear you.
Well, hello.
Will you put up to the mic, RFM?
Hello, Bill. I'm in the Greek islands with Bart Ehrman, and I called to tell you about it, but it looks like you're tied up.
Randy Bell is in Greece with Bart Ehrman.
You can't imagine a better vacation if you're a biblical studies.
Who are you talking to?
Well, we're talking to Bill. This is Mormonism After Dark. It's a Friday night. I know it's easy to lose track of time when you're over there in Greece with Bart. By the way, have you gotten Bart to agree to come on Mormonism Live?
Well, that's what I called you about. The chances are very high, 90% plus.
Yes. Now, I told you $75 is my top offer. Did you tell him that?
I'll pay it. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'll make up the difference.
Oh, my gosh. Well, thank you so much. Hey, I will talk with you later, okay? We're just closing out the show, and then I got to get out of this monkey suit.
And hello, everyone. And goodbye, everyone. And have fun.
How do you say good night in Greek?
I haven't learned a single word here. It's all Greek to me.
Money well spent, Randy. Money well.
Perfect. Okay, so anyway, great hearing from you, and thanks for being a good sport about me putting you on speakerphone. All right.
Go ahead.
I said thanks for being a good sport about me putting you on speakerphone.
Well, thanks for putting me on speakerphone, and I'll give you a call later and give you all the details.
Okay,
I
great.
think you'll be really happy.
All right, I like to be
All
happy.
right.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
All right, bye-bye. Well, this is so much fun when I have my phone next to me on Mormonism After Dark. I can do all kinds of mischief.
If we do ever have Bart Ehrman on, we ought to ask him what kinds of persecution he's suffered over the years, speaking out as one of the prominent falsifying Christianity scholars out there. I bet he's had his fair share of people being unchristian-like to defend their Christianity.
You know, I would guess he probably has had his share of that in and amongst all the fame.
Yeah. Yeah. Great author.
It was a couple days ago, and it's 8 hours ahead there, I think, in Greece from this time, because you're an hour ahead, right? For me on the Pacific coast. I think Greece is 8 hours ahead of me. Okay, so 7 ahead of you. And that means that 9 o'clock here, 8 hours, 3, holy crap, it's like 5 in the morning. That guy, he is such a worker, man. He gets up so early, he just goes, whatever. Even when he's on vacation, he's going. He's just he's a powerhouse. Okay, so anyway, it's 8 hours difference. And I don't know what that had to do with, except for the fact that, he's talking, actually, Martine, who's on the same trip. Martine sent me a picture of Bart Ehrman talking to Randy. And it looked like it was morning. They're having some kind of breakfast, some kind of Mediterranean diet. I don't know. And just mentioned, that's going on. And so I immediately start texting Randy. I'm here at the studio. I start searching for and grabbing books off my well-populated bookshelves in here because I don't have enough shelf space of Bart Ehrman that I had bought 20 years ago. So I'm sending him photographs of these so he can show them hopefully to Bart and let him know that I'm the real deal and he needs to come on the show because I'm his biggest fan.
I hope it happens. We need it to happen. That would be a great conversation for our audience, and that would be great. A lot of folks would tune in that have never heard us before to check out Bart Ehrman.
Yeah, it sounds like Randy's checking him out right now over in Greece. Hey, I like that thing, After Dark. Is that our new logo?
It's a logo. I've been working on a few things behind the scenes, just trying to play around with stuff and see something, but it's a fun one to put up on the corner, and it matches nice with the background color.
I love the colors on the After Dark thing. I just find it so relaxing and so kind of, edgy, just like us.
I was trying to I'll show you one more thing, but I couldn't get it to do it quite right. Let's see here. So I wanted it to take pictures of general authorities and create some things. So this was Saints Gone Wild. Things get weird after dark. And it was supposed to be Nelson and Oakes and Eyring. And then there they are.
Have two eyes now, only one of them dotted.
No, it's just AI does this weird stuff, but it was just creating concepts. And but I love, here you got the GAs, they're sitting at the poker table. Of course, there's dice there, which are never there at the poker table, but maybe they're playing roulette, but that's not a traditional roulette board. And but they're all drinking and having a party, wearing the fun hats. Anyway, not just playing around.
That is funny. It looks like something where you'd be playing cards, but they also have the two big dice there, but they're just having a good time. They should be in a jacuzzi, in a hot tub. They should be hot tub.
Ooh, there's a jacuzzi hot tub story from a few decades ago.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page.
It was a great time.
When Jim mentioned President Nelson doing the Peacemaker, I was going to tell Jim that was the second best Peacemaker talk that was ever out there.
Ooh, zing.
18.
Zing. Are you talking about the pamphlet by Joseph Smith?
But not by Joseph Smith.
Oh, right. That had his name on it, but he didn't write it.
No, he would never do such a thing.
He thought it was ridiculous in his commentary that he wrote about it in the Nauvoo paper, where he said he didn't write it, but he didn't He thought it was a bunch of folly and nonsense, but still, a man should be able to enjoy his privileges.
Yeah.
That's what he said in his signed review of The Peacemaker, which was a document that was published there in the same place that promoted polygamy, I believe. A man should be able to enjoy his privileges, Joseph Smith said about that.
Yeah, that's sort of like nod, wink, wink.
That's such a nod, wink, wink. It's like, okay, just hit me over the head with the 2x4 while you're at it.
I'm not all for everything this guy has to say.
Yeah. But that stuff about multiple wives.
But a man should be able to enjoy his privileges, if you know what I mean.
It's an incredible episode in history. And we've covered that, haven't we?
We have. I think we've covered the Peacemaker pamphlet as on a standalone, like go into detail into it, but we've referenced it as what it contained and what the point was to the other topics in polygamy that we were covering.
I think it was referenced in the mini series about Under the Banner of Heaven.
And also in our episode on celestial marriage.
Yes, I think that's where U.S. agent got the idea of taking another wife. You remember that in the show? I'm sorry, I'm being too... People who get it will get it, but I'm talking about Kurt Russell's kid who plays U.S. agent, who also played one of the Lafferty boys.
Gotcha. There you go. All right. I don't have anything else to add. I think it's been a great show. I think Jim Bennett was a ton of fun. Colch, we're thinking of you, and I hope that whatever it is, it sorts itself out, that you can at least participate at some level in this community. And we love you, and we're thinking about you.
Yeah, there it is. Wyatt Russell. Very good. Wyatt. He was in the new movie. He did a great job.
Yeah.
I really like that movie. I'm going to go back and see it maybe. But everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And like Bill just said, Cultch, if you're watching, and we have understanding that you are, even though it's now after midnight over there in Florida, we appreciate you. We love you. We got your back. Just reach out if you need anything, anything at all. You got my number. You got Bill's number. Okay. So we're taking it out, Bill.
Yeah. Have a great night, everybody.
Have a great night. And you're going to cut it off right now, I know, but I'm going to meet with Colby tomorrow morning at dark 30. We're going to record something really special on the next chapter in the Light on Truth letter. It should go up tomorrow night. Hopefully keep your fingers crossed.
Excellent. And then if you do something next week, we have to coordinate. And otherwise, let me know when you got that one finished. I'm excited to see what you guys produce.
Very good. It's going to be super. Good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.